All right. So, thank you for having me on, Chris. It's great to be here. Uh, so, how should we really start this off?
Well, here, let's go ahead. Let me see. Uh, Usually I'll just start it off and we'll just do, like, salutations and then...
Exactly.
Yeah. Alright, so... Salutations and greetings, everyone. We have today in the studio... Or not in the studio, rather. Well, today on the show we have...
Yep, we have me, Tristan. I am the new audio editor. I guess you could sort of call me a producer. I also record some of the video, but I'm sure eventually once we get things really started going and sorted out that, Chris might do some videoing, but then again, I don't know if you want to do that. You look very concerned right now. Just in your eyes, I can just see it. You're just shaking your head at me.
I was like,
no.
I'm not gonna. No, I was like, I don't know how much I'll be able to. I mean, I'll hit record, but
exactly. see, if you're ever gonna do this by yourself, then see, guys, he needs me. So ultimately, but it's great to have me on the working here. In case you didn't notice, we're in my room. Yeah, we don't have a studio, but you know what? We're working on it. Hey, you know what? Everybody's a celebrity, and that also means everybody's got to start somewhere.
There you go.
Because celebrities start... They were babies once, and now they're adults, and I am still a man-child. So we're working on it, but you know what? Maybe one day I won't be so much of a baby. Anyway.
One can only hope for any of us, that we want to grow our baby phase. I like the background decorations, though. It's very nice. Very cultured.
Did you just say that anime was cultured?
Oh, absolutely. Well, certain ones, you got Initial D over there.
Well, yes, there is lots of culture in them.
Yeah.
But to say that you're a man of culture usually denotes that you like watch hentai, which I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay,
why would you ever call anyone a man of culture for that? I don't feel like... I feel like explicit material is it's a different thing from culture.
It could be culture, but I mean, like...
It's weird. We probably shouldn't talk about this on the podcast.
No.
Especially not the first thing.
When I think about, man of culture, I'm like, okay, so this guy knows, he knows the classics.
I use AVI.
Yeah, use AVI, things
yeah.
of that nature, right? He listens to the what is it? The Wiggles fruit salad.
The Wiggles fruit salad is a classic masterpiece.
And yeah, exactly. And it's the original one too, not even
absolutely. But there are some good remixes out there.
You remember the car they used to have on the Wiggles, like that little half Volkswagen Beetle or something?
Do I look like I will remember the Wiggles?
You were listening to them on the way over here.
Because it's fun! I watched the Wiggles as a kid, but...
I thought you, kept up with the Wiggles. You were still watching it?
Nah, the only thing I can vaguely remember is Sesame Street and Yo Gabba Gabba.
I watched, I was crazy for Elmo back in the day, but I never got on the Yo Gabba Gabba.
What's your best Elmo impression? Go for it. Come on, the people want to hear it.
What is it? I'm trying to think of what Elmo even says.
Hi, I'm Elmo. Hi, Mr. Noodle.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Mr. Noodle.
Mr. Noodle.
Yeah, that's about as good as I got.
Oh wow. Well, that sucked, and so did mine. I usually am very good with my friend Daniel at work. He always tells me that I do great Shaggy, which I don't understand. I'm just like zoinks. I'm like, man. I'm like, I guess we gotta get out of the trenches, man. What do you mean mustard gas? I thought it was a part of a tuna sandwich or something. I don't know.
That is pretty good.
I don't know. It's not that good. Oh gosh, I just realized my dog barking might get in the audio. Well, you know what? Hey. We all have dogs. Not all of us. That was a joke. What? Words are hard, But some of us have dogs, and some of us have cats, and some of us have... Pain! I'm a man of words, aren't I?
I was, one of the last interviews we did, we were at Starbucks, and it was we thought that it would be okay being on the patio until we realized that it was a Sunday, Saturday, and yeah, it was fun. So I'm very much looking forward to going over that footage.
You said you.
So
I am glad I'm not editing that. But
it's a work. We're learning here, folks. We're learning.
you should know with common sense not to go to Starbucks.
I underestimate because I don't really go to Starbucks that much. So I'm like, okay, people.
Yeah,
go
I'm not
there
a basic white person
to
either.
work, to work. I'm like, people go there, to work and work on their, books or whatever. I don't know what people go to Starbucks for, but they're on their laptop, so I thought it'd be quiet.
Yeah, I mean, if you guys go to Starbucks, nothing against you. Nothing against you.
Yeah, just straight up, nothing against.
Nothing.
All right, man. So, did you have anything that you were wanting to bring to the people and let them know kind of like what to expect from your work moving forward? I've already seen what you can do, and I'm very impressed. I'm excited.
Well, Chris, the only thing I can really say to the audience at home is, well, honestly, it's a little tough for me to say, and honestly, I really don't want to get political here, but vote for Pedro. So, that's about all I really had in mind, but, I mean, if you are out of ideas or anything, I can always come forward.
Oh, okay. I've got a couple ideas.
A couple ideas? Man, you better have more than just two.
Just a little bit,
little bit.
Crazy.
You just pull out a page of giant lists. You're like Santa.
So, I mean, obviously, like, coming in here, you and presumably your dad are anime fans?
Yeah, okay, so, in terms of anime, it was actually my grandpa that...
Really?
Yeah, my grandpa, he didn't actually do anything with anime, because anime really hadn't come from Japan to America until around the 80s or 70s or something like that. And the thing is, my dad could totally tell you a ton more about it. Because, I mean, the thing is, grandpa, rest in peace and all that, but he had dementia, so unfortunately. But the thing is, grandpa was so cool. Thing is, I mean, he traveled all over the world and stuff, but, I mean, he would often introduce my dad to, like, certain things and a little bit of different cultures. I think he ended up, like, I can't remember exactly, but he somehow ended up introducing my dad in some way to Japan, at least at the minimum. But
so you said they were traveling a lot?
Yeah, my grandpa never really went to Japan, but he was in the Air Force. He was actually stationed in Greece for a while.
Oh.
And the thing is, he actually worked with a nuke, I think. I think that's how he got his pre-leukemia. That's what we think anyway. The thing is, they lost his records in there.
Yeah.
Because there was some bad record keeping back then, especially during, the Cold War area and stuff. But, I mean, he actually got to meet the King of Greece, go to the Parthenon before it was, closed down. He did a bunch of things with training exercises. Honestly, that's a totally different, like, I could do an entire episode on that. But the thing is, I want my dad here with me on that. Because my grandpa, unfortunately, I mean, even if we did this podcast while my grandpa was still around, he wouldn't have been able to answer because of the dementia. But anyway, that aside, my dad ended up getting into anime as a kid. I mean, one of his favorite things was Robotech and stuff.
Just the genre? Or...
Robotech, no, that's Mecha. Mecha's the genre. Robotech is a show where, it's kind of like Gundam, I guess. But they actually killed people, and that was cool. Yeah, it was...
They kill people in Gundam? I could have swore, like...
I don't know, no one ever dies in those ones. They're for kids or something. And I think Robotech was for kids, but you know what? People die.
Yeah.
Do you know what? They killed Mr. Kruger or something on Sesame Street, didn't they?
Oh.
Well, he actually died, and so Big Bird had to find out that the grocery guy, he died, and they had an episode about death. And honestly, it was like, whoa, dude. There was a guy that was on Sesame Street that died, and they're talking about death on Sesame Street? That's like a taboo.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's beside the point. So my dad ended up getting an anime. And it's funny. We looked at the original videos of, like, the first anime conventions, which was, back then it was Project Acon, which is a playoff of Project Aco, which was kind of like a parody of, for things. of anime tropes and stuff back then in like the 80s and stuff. But what was interesting was that back then, when anime was first coming in Japan, no one knew Japanese or anything. And thing is, all they had they didn't have subtitles or anything. So what people would do, they would have these small group, like just small little groups of guys, and they would just dub over it and make up their own crappy story and stuff.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Dirty Pair, and a couple other things. And again, my dad would tell you more about that.
Didn't they do that with like one of the old, like almost like Shin-Chan seasons or something like that?
I don't know. They did it for a long time.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is that at these conventions, at Project Acon, it was a really small convention. Essentially, it would take place at a hotel. And they would all go into this one small hotel room, crowd around a single TV, and then they would put in a tape and be like, "All right, this is the world premiere of this new anime that we got," and
so
it's
cool.
these dubbing guys. They would put it in there and they would just play it and they would all watch it on the TV. Well, my dad was looking on YouTube at some old footage from these conventions, and he pauses on one of these shots, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, wait a minute, that's me."
Whoa.
I mean, I'm editor Tristan can probably. I mean, I think I might be able to find it if I can ask my dad, and I'll point it. I'll make a giant circle and I'll put like a hidden Goku in the back, you know, like all those memes and stuff. But oh gosh, I'm adding more editing work than I need to.
We're like 10 minutes in and you're
already okay. It's funny, so whatever. So yeah, but. And then me and my brother, we ended up getting into it just because Dad was into it. One of the first movies that he ever showed us, actually, in terms of anime, because my dad loved it so much.
Yeah, like by the time you guys were born, he was already like...
Hell, he was planning it from the very beginning, I tell you. Yeah, one of the first movies, and I think I was 7 when I first watched it. And don't worry, before I tell you what movie it was, I can assure you any of the scenes that were not appropriate for that age, he walked in front of the TV and was like, "Oh, close your eyes, close your eyes." He showed me Akira.
Oh my god!
Because it was so good.
Yeah.
He had to show it to me when I had no idea what the heck was going on. I didn't even understand it. Now I get a better appreciation of it.
Yeah.
Akira is genuinely the greatest thing, greatest anime movie. Like the most color. I mean, it was revolutionary.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason why there's a giant poster inside my house in the entryway of just Akira. I mean, you can see it.
I mean, you got the stickers. And...
Yeah, I got it on my car stickers. Yeah, I'm a weeb. What about it? Yeah, I watch anime.
This podcast is a safe place for weebs as well. It's started by a bit of a weeb. So.
Well, the thing is, ultimately, the only people that really truly judge weebs are weebs themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Well, then yeah, that's terrible. Shame on you.
Terrible. Shame.
No, but that's cool. I actually, shamefully enough, I didn't watch Akira until like 3 years ago, and yeah, it took me a while, but
you're making me reconsider doing this podcast.
Can't blame you, man. They told me I'd lose friends if I start, letting people know about that, but.
Well, you've lost one already.
But no, it's yeah, it really is really amazing, and I want to watch it again because it's so much that you can't just take in one go.
You have to watch it 4 times before you can actually understand that.
Yeah. So was that pretty much like what kickstarted it for you? Was Akira, or was there anything?
No, I was too young for that. Actually, the thing that started it for me was when I got maybe I was a little older, like 10 or so. I watched Steins Gate.
Oh.
And the thing is,
never seen it.
Steins Gate's great.
Yeah.
The anime's great. The reason why my dad always liked it so much was because they basically have a rip-off copy of Dr. Pepper. And the thing is, my dad loves Dr. Pepper. And in it, the main character says that Dr. Pepper's the drink of the intellectuals. And the intellectual chosen or something. And so... Oh yeah, you should add that in post. Add a clip of that.
お茶などという大衆迎合的飲料など飲めるか。俺が飲むのは選ばれし者の知的飲料。
特ペだね。
in Japanese. Anyone that's listening is gonna like completely not know what it's saying. But you know what? If you know Japanese, that's pretty cool. But yeah, so that's when I really got into it. And then later on, my brother, I mean, he kind of set up a Plex server for us and obtained it. And so, you know, he obtained it in fun ways. Mm-hmm. And so I regularly watch anime now. I have to say, probably one of my favorite rom-coms, though. And yes, I know. But look, rom-coms, you'll understand when you're older. If you're not older already, but they're good. They're good. Outside of movies, which movies would probably have to be Weathering with You and Your Name. Oh, such good movies. But I would have to say my favorite like rom-com anime would be Taisho Otome Fairy Tale, which it takes place in 1920s Japan or something, and it's like about arranged marriage, but then it's like actual love and stuff. I don't know. It's a sweet one, and the girl is short or something. I don't know.
Sounds interesting.
It's really good. It's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's historical.
It's like actually like kind of a period piece sort of thing.
It mainly focuses on the romance. So.
Okay. All right. Anything else that's like I would say, is there any show that you watched that particularly influenced you growing up?
Influenced me?
Or like maybe influenced even your tastes?
No, my tongue has always been the same. What has influenced me? I find that the influences mainly have come more in my more recent years, like, high school, getting out of high school and stuff. Right. I mean, I'm only 20 right now, so, there's still so much more of life ahead of me. Most people, when they turn 20, they're like, oh my gosh, my life is over. Ranger wants to comment, of course. But they're like, oh my gosh, I'm 20, my life is over. This is over. Oh my gosh. So, but no, there's more to life than being, life doesn't end at 20, even though you think you're going to die in like 5 minutes. No, you have about like at least 2 more days, minimum.
It's good, yeah.
Minimum 2 days.
At least 7 years. That's I don't know.
Why 7 years?
Because I made it 27, so I don't know if like that's kind of like the bar, like.
Well, hey, don't set expectations for me. What if I'm like, what if I'm like really bad at living somehow or something? I don't know. It's weird. Weird things happen. Maybe I could spontaneously combust at any moment. Like I'm gonna give myself a minimum of 2 days, and then we'll go from there.
All right, that's that's pretty good. That's pretty good. Can't go wrong with 2 days.
Yep.
Unless you do.
Well, yeah.
So, do you mind like talking a little bit about your grandpa? Like, how was that with him going through like dementia like that? Like, were you young, like really young, or did you know him already at the time? They found out,
I think, when I was around 10 or something. I can't remember exactly when. The memory is a bit fuzzy. I was still really, it didn't really start happening. It didn't go into the further stages until very recently, like 3 years ago or so.
Oh.
But I think what happened was that I can't remember when they first reverse mortgaged the house, which it's a rough decision to make that, and
right.
I wouldn't recommend reverse mortgaging your house personally, but I think they reverse mortgaged it after they found out that Grandpa was gonna eventually lose his memory. And the thing is, I grew up with him, and always the sweetest man. He was tall. I wish I was tall. He always made the funniest jokes. Like, one time I was playing with his funny arm veins because, like, honestly.
His arm veins?
They're just so squishy,
I know exactly what you mean,
Yeah, you just squishing your arm veins. You're just squishing your veins. And I was poking him, and he's like, if you keep doing that, then I'll die. And so, and man, I loved that guy. And, but eventually, his memory started to fade. And I think around maybe when I was like starting like junior, senior year of high school, that's when it started really going. And then he passed on in December of last year. So, and Grandma took it pretty hard, but she's doing pretty well right now. I mean, everyone's taking care of her. We're gonna, we people from her church are, visiting her regularly and talking to her and keeping her company and stuff. And she has a lot of support from not roommates, but from neighbors and stuff. And so, but yeah, I mean, honestly, dementia for me, it wasn't as hard because he was already starting to lose it from by the time I was really starting to get good memories.
I was gonna say, by the time you were...
Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't completely going. I mean, he was still him. I mean, he still made all the jokes. He still remembered things and stuff for a while.
What do the stages look like over time?
Gosh, I have to... It's been a while since I looked into the Alzheimer's and dementia. You'd have to talk to my dad about that. I just tapped the mic. I'm still silly.
Oh, you're good.
That's why we have 4 mics. So, but I'm pretty sure... shoot, man. Now I want to look it up.
More so from your own experience, I'm sure that were there milestones or anything of where you were noticing different changes, or was it just kind of very gradual?
It was gradual for me. It works differently for everyone that does experience dementia and Alzheimer's, and it's very hard for them, especially. Grandpa loved to do puzzles, and so about maybe a year and a half before he moved on, pretty much most of all of what he would do was either follow Grandma around and ask how he could help, because gosh, that's so sweet. And people have complete personality changes sometimes when they lose their memory, but Grandpa never changed. He was always the sweetest person. He would follow Grandma around and ask how he could help, but thing is,
even though you basically, did he know her? Or?
He knew her. He was one of the last people to forget, but she was the last. Yeah, but it's funny whenever
so you forget people
pretty close to when it's maxed out, you'll forget the people that you're closest to, like Grandma. And one thing he would often joke about, we don't necessarily know if he was actually would forget or not, but sometimes he'd be like, "Oh, I'm married? Oh, nice." And so I mean, he could always just have been joking, but dude, just the fact that he says it anyway, does it really matter? Yeah. It's still fun. You still have fun. I mean, he was never afraid of dying from the dementia or the, pre-leukemia that could have eventually turned into leukemia.
What is, I wanted to ask, does dementia itself kill you, or is it something else?
Dementia itself can kill you, yes. It will eventually kill you, but Grandpa also had, the precursor to cancer, so... Honestly, I feel like everything kind of just got him all at once. Right. Because, I mean, it was kind of his time, so, but...
That's usually how that seems like it happens a lot.
Yeah, it does, but, Grandpa, he will always leave a treasured memory. One of the things I actually have on my keychain, it's this Frito-Lay, little bicentennial thing, and the thing is, Grandpa used to work at Frito-Lay. And
wow,
it's funny. He actually made all these really cool films and commercials, even though he was just a factory worker or something. He would make these films and commercials just for fun, and dude, he was so good at directing it. And
you would actually film and shoot Frito-Lay, fake Frito-Lay.
I think so. I don't know. I think they're on VHSs at Grandma's house, but
that's cool.
Dude, they are so great for back then. They were training videos or something. I can't remember, but he got a Wild West version of one rather than one of those boring hello and welcome. Today we're gonna be talking about how you keep your back safe, the back safety. So I mean, it was more them back safety rules. And then you just spit out a big wad and you're just them down stupid. Well, you wouldn't know, Bucktooth Steve. See Harry over there? His back got completely snapped in two when he wasn't careful, and his safety precautions or something like that. I don't remember exactly, but dude, Grandpa was cool. He was cool. He'll always be cool in my heart. Love him.
Okay. Damn. Well, thanks for sharing that and, opening up about that. Is there... I hear people mix them together a lot and, like, kind of clump them together, but are Alzheimer's and dementia, like, actually related?
They are. Also, I believe what comes first is dementia.
Oh.
And then Alzheimer's. Or it's Alzheimer's and dementia. I will have to fact check that. Let me fact check that.
Okay.
Let me fact check that. Well, you can keep asking me questions and I'll just look it up real quick.
Okay. I wanted to ask, so for those of you that don't know, that have been living under a rock, Tristan is actually a psychology major, and I wanted to ask, is that, I don't even know if that is the same field, but did that kind of inspire you, what was happening with your grandfather, did that inspire you to possibly help other people going into that field and maybe dealing with the same issues, or things of that nature? Because I know that's something that people do a lot, if like people go into the medical field or something like that.
Well, that's actually a good question. It wasn't necessarily Grandpa. There were a lot of reasons. When my parents divorced when I was around 14, I feel like that gave me the biggest motivation. Because it was rough. Like, there was, there was a lot of arguing, and it was it was really upsetting for me, to say the least. And there was this one specific traumatic event that did happen, and I'm not going to go into details necessarily, but, that's really, I don't want to give any hate to anybody, because, just because somebody did end up traumatizing me doesn't mean they intended to traumatize me like that. But there was a traumatic experience that happened, and, it shocked me to my core. I didn't know how I slept that night, when it happened. And, so, I still love both my parents. We're still, healthy relationship with the both of them, so don't get me wrong on that. But with that, there came a lot of other issues in my life that I had to deal with, like learning about all these different things. My mom, after the divorce, she ended up going a different path in life and doing different things. Nothing like illegal or anything, but she changed a lot of her personal beliefs and views and stuff, religious ideals and stuff. And so, watching that, it was really interesting to me. And also, it was alienating, definitely, absolutely. It felt weird to look at my mom and be like, that's my mom, and she was not the same person. But the thing is, to me, that's not necessarily a bad thing, because when somebody says, I don't feel like myself, I feel like it's that, there's a lot of discomfort, a lot of anxiety with, the perceived image of who you are and your reality image of who you are. That's one of the things I learned about in social psychology. But, it's about, I feel like as you change, that doesn't make you a different person. You're still the same person, because people are constantly changing and evolving. And so seeing that with my mom, and also just knowing how, I can understand how people think, why things happen. I wanted to be a counselor so that way I could be, able to tell people and help people understand their circumstances and really work on them and grow from them. Because a counselor isn't going to go and solve your problems. A lot of people think that, like, they'll go to a counselor and they'll give you advice, but they don't give you advice.
Yeah, they don't really actually tell you what to do with your, like, even if you ask them, right? They won't tell you.
They'll give you coping techniques, but the thing is, when it comes down to that, that's where peer support and stuff comes in, where they'll actually tell you, hey, maybe you should do this or something.
Right.
And one great platform that I actually was able to participate in was as a trained peer in this program called Together All. I did it through UNT, but it's a program that's essentially a completely anonymous online forum board, and it's all about promoting mental health. There are clinically certified professional psychologists on there and counselors on there 24/7, and they monitor everything, and basically you just give people support, and you can rant or anything, and everything's anonymous. It's really great. And I learned a lot from that, and that's one of the things. Relying on your peers and getting good to peer support network is really great for all of that, and whatnot. So, but also one of the big things that really pushed me for it was, my brother. He also went through a lot of difficulties when he was around my age. When he first went off to college, he didn't do so well, and he ended up having to come back home, and he was in a really, really rough place. Like, honestly, if hearing him tell stories about it, it was really...
Was it stuff that was going on, like, at home, or more like once he got there?
It was a mix of everything.
Yeah.
And it was rough on him, and... I mean, he's doing so much better now, thank gosh. And I don't know what I would do without my brother, honestly. He's such a wonderful influence on me. I love him to death, and and there's just nothing I can't praise him enough. He's gone through a crap ton of stuff, but he's gone through it, and gosh, he's honestly a role model for me in just that sense. And I mean, he might be surprised to hear that. I mean, but honestly, he really is. And I may have I may have an associate's already. I'm going to get my bachelor's at the end of the year, and he's getting his associate's at the end of the year. But that doesn't mean crap to me, because my brother has way more experience in life and has seen so much more stuff. He's gone through the thick of the worst stuff that he's had to deal with, and me, I haven't gone through nearly as bad stuff as he has. And good gosh, I mean, bad things can make you build up to be a great person.
Yeah.
If you are willing to look at it in an optimistic light and say, how did I grow from this?
And I wanted to ask you that, because you were 14. That's very inspiring that you, because divorce is traumatic no matter what, and so even if it's more, if it's more cordial or whatever, but how did you, at the age of 15, 14, what made you decide to have that be a motivator, as opposed to, because a lot of people, and I've met a lot of people in the past, and even, I'm guilty of this, is like, you have those traumatic things, and you can either use it to harden your heart, or it kind of breaks it open, and in that situation, you decided to let it be a motivator for you to help people going through the same thing, and making that essentially your career. So what do you remember?
Well, a lot of what I did a lot of journaling back then, because one thing that you'll learn in psych classes is disclosure of any type, self-disclosure. As long as whatever you're thinking, if you say it out loud, if you write it out, if you record it, you can delete it, you can tell someone else. Any form of disclosure, even self-disclosure, will improve at least your stress levels in some way. It may have some small short-term effects that are like slight, but it almost will always immediately lead to a long-term effect of just like reduced stress, and like it feels like you got something off your chest.
Right.
So when I was doing that, I kept journaling and stuff like that.
Did you just pick that up, or were you like taught to
Well,
journal?
I just thought of it, I think. I can't remember exactly. But as I was doing that, and I would just rant off everything that was in my mind. And I guess that's why, I don't know. I don't think that's why I became good, why people say I became a good writer, but
that'll do it though.
It can do it.
Yeah.
But the thing is I really focused on how do I grow from this as I was doing that. And I realized that I became much more of an optimist, honestly. That's what, at the time, I was thinking, I need to be an optimist, because if I don't look at the way I can grow from this, it's going to wreck me horribly. And so I looked, and I was like, because I would sit there, and I would just be sobbing as my parents would be, arguing, and just crying hardly, like just hardly able to keep together, because I just didn't like seeing people that I thought were, working so well falling apart. Because, I mean, it's easy to put up a facade. And, I learned in my developmental psychology class that actually one of the, it's actually better to just, a divorce is going to be hard, especially for younger people, young children, like until like the age of 5. Well, actually, it says, at least one of the test questions that I had was, that, in a divorce, kids ages 1 through 5 will often think that it's their fault.
Oh.
Which,
I wouldn't even think they were, like, old enough to even know what's happening. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, but it's always traumatic. But the thing is, it's always better to ultimately have a divorce and separate than it is to keep your children stay together and end up having, just arguing and stuff like that. Because it's gonna damage your kid more if you have a harsher environment than splitting off. It's better to cut. It's better to cut the arm off than to like if you're, say, I don't know, venom or something is clawing up your arm or something. I don't know. Bad metaphor.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I get what you mean. I'm sure the people listening.
I hope you can. Please understand me. Please, I need you to understand.
Okay. Well, what did you say earlier? Because you said that you said that like you basically had to decide because it would have overwhelmed you otherwise, and really would have taken its toll. Like where? So that's pretty much like where that came from. You were like, it's one way or the other. Like this is happening, so I really have to. I guess how did you keep yourself from falling into like delusions about stuff and like how people or like just blaming your parents or things like that? Because a lot of times just getting angry. Were you angry at the time about everything, or were you just hurt or confused, or what was the main driving emotion?
The thing about that divorce was I felt like I was being forced to pick a side in a lot of times because both of them were yelling at each other, both of them were screwing up hard, and every time when I was sitting there and I heard one thing getting said and I was like, I know that triggers that. I know that's going to trigger mom, or I know that's going to trigger dad. And I hear these things and I'm like, boom, boom, red flag, red flag, red flag. And then,
That sounds really strange.
For a while, I did kind of blame my parents.
Yeah.
There was resentment for, and my mom was the one that ended up moving away off to Arizona. And, I found out some other things that she had done, and, makes mistakes. At the time, she was going through a lot of chronic pain, and, as a result, she was on some really strong drugs, like fentanyl, which was prescribed to her. But the thing is, it really knocked her out.
I didn't know they even sent people home with that. Like
they would.
Like a deathbed thing.
No, it depends on the situation, but it was bad enough to the point she was bedridden a lot. And I feel like it really hurt her to know that she can't do her job as a mother like she's always wanted. She always grew up wanting to be a mom. And it's hard. Absolutely, it's hard to sit there drugged out of your mind's end and know that you can't do the job that you've always wanted to do. And she's doing all that she can for us right now. And she may think that she needs to make up for it or something, but honestly, there's nothing that needs to be made up. She's doing the best she could. She did the best that she could when she did, and yeah, she screwed up, but everyone screws up. I've screwed up so many times. My dad screwed up way many times too. Good gosh, everyone messed up a lot during that. So I feel like everyone grew from it and got better from it. And for a while, I honestly did have a lot of, when I went over there for the custody visits during summer, I won't lie, there were times when I did get into some arguments and I was really frustrated. And I had a hard time seeing like how things would go and just like understanding why things happened. And over time, I learned to forgive and understand.
Was there anything that like kind of made you realize that you had to do that? Or was it?
I can't quite remember. It was this one spring break. We had a really bad argument, and I will always regret saying some of the things that I did because man, they were mean. I was hurt, and I said some things I really never should have. But she was honestly about to call up my dad and say that I need to go home early.
Yeah.
Because she was that heartbroken with how I said things, and she was just horribly wrecked. And so I talked with her, and the next day we had an honest talk, and we cleared things up. I told her how I felt, how all these things, and I can't remember the specifics, but honestly, it didn't matter. I was able to talk with my mom. I was really able to get everything out and understand what her perspective was, what my perspective was, and understand that we were all hurting during that time.
Yeah.
And it's never rough. It's never easy for anyone. And honestly, it was probably one of the more, relieving, calming, and just, it really gave a lot of peace to me after that conversation. And we've been good and happy ever since. I mean, sure, there's a couple like some hiccups here and there. I mean, come on, it's like, it's mom. You're like, yeah, yeah, okay, love you, bye. But I mean, love her to death still, because my mom is wonderful.
Did you feel like you got any chances to get those kinds of feelings out when it was actually happening, or was it all because everything was focused on the actual process and the combat, I guess,
I don't really know how to answer that, honestly. It was kind of a mess. It's kind of all in a blur.
Yeah.
I mean, it was always just stuff over, menial, tiny things. But
well, I mean, for you, nobody really ever got to sit... You never got to sit down with anybody and be like, this is how everything's making me feel at the time.
I mean, I did do that.
Or have them ask, or...
I would do that, and they were aware. And, I did go to counseling a couple times. But, I mean, the thing is that, it didn't change how they were seeing each other and acting toward each other, because it was a problem between the two of them, and I was just kind of somewhat in the crossfire. Not necessarily direct. Nothing was directed towards me.
Yeah, but you're in it,
I mean,
being in the family.
My dad's ideas and motivations were, I am getting into arguments so that way I can defend my kids from just getting berated or something. It's he wanted to be basically a human shield in terms of any emotional or mental attack. And my mom, she was hurt and she felt like she wasn't being treated right, and there was just a lot going on. And it was there was a lot of motivations that went on there, and I mean when they clashed too much with those motivations too, and so it just ended up being rough.
Okay. It definitely seems like I know, for speaking from personal example, especially when I turned 25, 26, I dreaded the thought of both of my original parents raising me, because I love both of them so much, and wholly as individuals, but thinking, just knowing their personalities, it was when I got married, it's having them both together and seeing, that was the first time I had seen them together in the same room in forever, so it was so weird. And I just really thought about if I had both of them raising me, that'd be crazy. I can't fathom how I would have, what kind of issues I would have had or whatever, you know what I mean? So, and it's not, obviously not trashing either of them, but it's just, I'm glad that I'm made up of the people that I'm made up of, but at the same time, I'm also glad that they raised me separate too, you know?
Yeah.
And it worked out, so that's it's very inspiring that you were able to draw that kind of wisdom, because a lot of people, they can't get out of that until their 30s, and for real, people can be stuck in that kind of stuff until they're the parents gone and they're still dealing with it.
I mean, there's nothing necessarily wrong with that either.
Yeah.
I mean, people go through a lot, and healing does take time, and it can sometimes take more than the time that you have in your life. It's like that. It's not always easy, but I mean, it's the process that it's not easy, but it's something that we do, and it can always be a good payoff. So.
Right. Pays dividends, man. For sure. Well, I wanted to ask, did your faith play any part in that at the time, or because I know for me, I was, Yeah, I'm gonna just say I was a lukewarm Christian in my teenage years, and I don't, I would have like spurts of times where I would be more in it and stuff, but overall, I never, growing up, as soon as I was awake or conscious, I had been told about God and Jesus and stuff, so they had always been sort of in my mind and in my life, but it wasn't really real to me. You know what I mean? It wasn't real. It wasn't pragmatic and stuff. And I think sometimes with people with those kind of backgrounds, it doesn't really become real until you have like trauma to kind of test it against. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
Did you feel that way, or was it something that you were already able to like use?
Well, for me, and that's why you always be on edge. But for me, faith was, it was an important part in it. Because, well, at least with my beliefs. And, I was raised in church. The idea was families are forever. Mm. And so when you hear that, and there's a lot, it's a lot when you hear, that your parents are getting divorced. Yeah. It's almost like a taboo in a way. Mm. And it's really hard. It was really hard for me because I was really worried that I felt like my family was falling apart completely. Yeah. It would never come back together again. And, I was like, oh my gosh, holy crap, cheese balls and scrungless bungling and then I would just make up words right there and there on the spot, just like, because funny words make me calm down, I guess. But it took a lot of faith to really get through it. I think. It helped me definitely. And people cope with things like that in their own way, of course. Right. But for me, I was able to remember that I am still my mom's son, and I'm still my dad's son, and they both love me. And even though they may not be together, I'm still, I'm still their kid, and that doesn't change. Right. And they're always going to love me, and I'm always going to love them like that. Mm. And, always keeping that in mind and, remembering, how, God loves all of his children, and just, that I will be able to get through it, at some point. And, we're never given a challenge or a trial we can't really, work past. It's not gonna be
it doesn't
easy.
Seem that way for sure.
Yeah, sure doesn't seem that way. Yeah. But I always I learned a lot from that, and I feel like it really grew me in terms of faith.
Yeah, I was gonna ask because I know kind of going back to that, like similar people that I've heard those kind of situations, like oftentimes I feel like it's usually things like that, like a divorce or something like that turns people away from like religions early on. Yeah. A lot of the times because it rocks that world.
Yeah, well, my brother ended up leaving the church as well. Mm. And he's anti, I guess you could say. He doesn't really like religions all that much, but he's never vocal about it necessarily. He's always going to be respectful. And he may say things to other people that may be like-minded or something, but he'll never do it in the presence of someone like me, who believes certain things. Because, he's never someone that's going to offend. He has his own opinions, and absolutely, you're totally fine with having your opinions. And honestly, that's great. I prefer you to be honest than to sit around and lie. Yeah. Because, what's the point in going to church and faking everything? Yeah. Even though, to me, I feel like even if you're married and have kids and stuff, like, I can understand why you'd have the pressure to, fake, believing and stuff. But honestly, I think it's important in a way also to make, young children and families understand that, sometimes a family member may not have the same exact beliefs. Right. And that's okay. Mm-hmm. You can have totally different political spectrums inside of a family, and it's not gonna change the fact that you may disagree on some things, but that doesn't mean you can't love each other. Yeah. But so yeah, my brother took it hard, and he ended up leaving the church because of a lot of things. Also, just his time in college and coming back, that he learned a lot of things, and he realized it wasn't for him.
Yeah.
So I can't really say much else about that.
Dang. Oh, I was gonna ask you. So were you guys were pretty much like taught about religion like right out the gate, essentially?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think that you are better off for it, or like worse off, and why?
I don't think either way, honestly.
Yeah.
I feel like ultimately, what I think is important is how it's done, and how it's treated, especially when you're older, because you can teach your kids these things. Teach them about God and stuff. You do absolutely. And I'm not going to tell you how to do your parenting or anything like that.
Well, I'm saying like for you personally. Like,
for me personally, I feel
what
like
you would want to do in the future.
I still don't really know. I mean, I feel like it's that's a good question. I don't think it's really limited me in any way. Yeah. I personally am. When you get to a certain age in life, you start to like finally realize, oh, I can be independent from my parents, and I can think my own things. And it's at that point where, you know what, you can decide, hey, I don't really know if I actually believe in this, and that's an opportunity for exploration. For me, I don't know if I really had much of a faith crisis necessarily. I mean, my mom left the church as well, and my brother, and the thing is, my mom is a bit more vocal, and I mean, she said that like she broke out of a cult and stuff once, and I mean, we speak from emotions sometimes, and I can't blame my mom for saying those things. If she feels that way, that's fine. I'm not gonna hate on her. My key thing is I just want to make sure that everyone's being respected. That because that's what I hold highly. Just always respect others, because we don't need pointless arguments.
Right.
So
it's nothing more annoying than that too, because you can have a debate all day, but who wants to like argue with argue in circles?
Exactly. Also, squares are better. I'm sorry.
I'm Rhombus, buddy.
No, you are wrong. That's it. The stupid podcast is over.
How do you handle like those big questions about? Because I remember I've had like a crisis of faith back like it was like 2016, 2017 or something, and the thing that was I don't remember if it was anything specifically traumatic for me, but I remember that it was questions that I couldn't ignore anymore, or seemingly ignore within myself, that I was like, I always had kind of like these half-assed answers that I would be like throwing out at myself, or if somebody asked me, but it really took a lot of time to get those answers about like, why does God allow suffering, and like things of that nature.
Yeah.
Like, do you have you ever had struggles with those kind of questions, or do you feel like the church has been pretty good about answering those, or like it's you've gotten a satisfactory answer? Or?
Well, if I ever have like a faith question, first thing I always do is I first consider it with logical reason and understand, apply use what you already know and try and fill in the gaps, and of course once you do that, fact check yourself. Do some reading, read scriptures and stuff, and look at
What are you doing with that? Are you like cross-reference or like cross-examining your logic with the scripture and making sure that you're logically sound? Or is it...
I think it's like I do it I don't really necessarily do it in like a concrete
right.
cross-reference thing.
Yeah.
I mainly just think, and I'm like, well, usually I think in the way like, okay, well, if it's a good thing and it benefits everyone, then it's most likely gonna be something that God would want, in some way. And I look at, like, if it has a bad effect, if it's a bad thing, what positive thing can come from it? Because, we're given trials for a reason. At least that's why I feel, that's what I believe. And so, when I think about that, I'll, I just usually, sometimes I'll just read the scriptures that I have, and I'll just read through them. And, sometimes I'll pray about it, and I'll just flip on the scriptures to a random page and just look around and do it a bunch of times. And then, maybe I might find something that'll point out and it'll be like, it'll really give me some thought, and a lot of it is acceptance, of just the fact that I had doubts, but I was willing to, look into them. And honestly, I don't necessarily think it's a terrible thing to, maybe read some more secular literature. And that's people might say it's complete blasphemy. Yeah. But again, I'm not saying read it and look for all the things that support one thing. Don't go for confirmation bias. That's the big thing. You want to look at this critically, and I don't mean look through all the secular, things and just secular commentaries about God and stuff. Don't just start looking only into that. But honestly, consider everything. Understand that, for me, if I ever have a faith crisis, something like that, I want to be able to sit there and be like, if I'm having a faith crisis, what is my belief in God and my belief in religion actually doing into my life? How is it affecting my life? And for me, I look at it and I'm like, I feel like I'm being a better person. I'm being taught and I'm trying to practice values. And whether or not I believe that Christ was the Son of God, he's still a role model.
Right.
Wouldn't you, even if God isn't real, imagine that he was, and that you had a role model right there that you can follow. Sure, go right on ahead. It's a role model. Imagine trying to be a role model for a perfect being. I'm all in, man. Try and be something perfect. Don't be a perfectionist, but try and improve yourself and keep growing, because that's the point. And if a religion is gonna help me be that way, then I'm gonna believe it, because you know what? What's preventing me from what's the harm in believing it, really?
Right, and it's like judge a tree by the fruit it bears. So that's it sounds like to me that's exactly, you're on the right mental state with that, because you're right. It's if you are doing all these things and you're praying and all this stuff, if you're not any better for it, then what's really the point? So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. How do you think that God talks to us, or that's something that I've struggled with personally and kind of gone back and forth. How do you think that, what does that sound like? What does it look like? You know what I mean? Do you get your or when you're going through those crises, are you getting your answer and you're asking God for clarification? Or is it...
I've seen so many videos from church and church talks and church sermons and stuff. So many religious things that talk about how God talks to us, and it's crazy, because God can talk to you in almost every way. Through the people you meet, because honestly, God doesn't send angels down all the time now, does he?
Yeah, and that's the thing that was so hard for me to get for
Here's
so long.
Here's the thing. Have you ever considered that sometimes he doesn't need angels, he has people?
Yeah.
God can work through man. That's how I think. And so,
it's so hard for me to accept that back in
it can be hard, yeah. Sometimes for me, I will, might just hear a voice in my head that just random thoughts that don't feel like they're mine. They just pop into my head, and I'm like, that's a pretty good idea. And so, I've had, I feel like people have the presence has blessed me. Just talking with people, interactions with others, is often how it's done. Service is a big way. Just from the way people talk to each other, and it can be done in so many different ways. It's really hard to really pinpoint it. Honestly, sometimes it's just a feeling in your heart of just peace. To me, I feel like anything that's good in nature, something that can produce, I already said it, but if it's good, then I feel like maybe that's something that God's blessing you with. It's I believe the term was tender mercy. It's God's tender mercies. There's small little things that just say, hey, you're loved, and stuff like that. Because honestly, there's so much love if you look in the scriptures and stuff like that, and just it's all just God loves his children. That's pretty much the entire message that always sends. So
that's freaking beautiful. Yeah, yeah. And that really helped, honestly. That helped me a lot, because the tender mercy is what you're saying, because I've heard of people explaining them or calling them like synchronicities, or they're just different things like that. And even me and my wife have been experiencing things like that recently, and we're trying to, we're almost obsessing over, not obsessing over, but we're trying to like find these little breadcrumbs and see like, are we being told something, or directed to something, or being shown. But
it doesn't always. It doesn't. It just, hey, you're.
I'm here.
I'm here. I'm always love. Yep.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean.
Maybe that was the answer right there. God giving us an answer through conversation. Like you said, you never know what those ways are, how they come about.
Another thing, actually, when it comes down to answers for questions, I once heard, and I always was confused, like, what if you really never receive an answer about something?
Right.
Because that happens all the time. Sometimes the answers take forever and you won't get an answer.
Yeah.
But
and
sometimes
you forget about the question until you actually get the answer.
And sometimes there are times when you don't get an actual answer at all. But the thing is, I was once at a youth camp or something like that, and there was a speaker that came up and basically, gave us the idea of like a stoplight, essentially. Green light means, God gives you a sign, go ahead. Whether it be, hey, like you just feeling like, yeah, I should do this or something like that. However you feel like God communicates with you. And there's a red light, which means, I feel strongly like I should avoid that. Oh no, that's my mom.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's her. And then there's the yellow light. Now, what do you think the yellow light is?
Fucking floor it, dude. I can make it. No, slow down. Slow down.
Not quite.
Danger ahead. You caution. I don't know.
Not quite. It means do what you think is best and keep praying and looking for an answer as you do so, but do what you want, and if it gives you a green light, then you can go. If not, then you can always pull back. And sometimes it's okay. It's like when you wake up in the morning, when you decide what to wear for your clothes, do you pray about it?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I'm pretty sure in one of the books of scripture, it's called the Doctrine and Covenants. It's essentially, it covers the time period where, around Joseph Smith's time when, there were, the pioneers and all that stuff. And I believe, where did I put my phone?
No, that's mine. Oh.
Yeah, this is mine. It's at 8%. That's great. But, let me think. Because I believe, if I'm correct, there was a time where they actually were praying about the most menial things. And so I think...
what did you call it again?
A yellow light.
No, what was it? The book? Or...
The Doctrine and Covenants.
Doctrine?
Yeah, it's more modern day Revelation, essentially.
Okay.
Let's see here. There's that. Okay, I think it is. Let's see here. That's mainly just talking about preaching the gospel. Let's see here. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it was. I think people were like constantly praying about things, and it was like, "It mattereth not what you get," or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but it's really. I mean, sometimes there are things that you don't need to pray about or get an answer about, because you know what? It's okay if you don't need to. You don't always need to get an answer. It's you. You also have free agency. You have that choice. You can do what you want. And I mean, if it's. I mean, it's like, think about like an investment or something like that. Like, sometimes if you keep going with it, you'll make a bunch of money. If you pull out, then maybe you'll just not make any money at all. But nothing bad's gonna happen. It's like hey, you know what? Do whatever.
Doesn't have to be so high stakes all the time.
Yeah.
All right, that's very interesting that you say that, because I swear this is like stuff we're going through. Like, and we were talking about all day today, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely need to show this to my wife because.
And you were saying you want to know how God answers questions.
Yeah, that's crazy, dude. Yeah, well, there you have it, folks. We got it recorded this time, so we
have it on record, guys. Okay. All right. Proof that miracles exist.
There you go.
Proof of God.
Right there.
I mean, it happens. Honestly, like it happens through people, and it can happen through. I mean, sometimes it does happen through angels, but I mean, you're not gonna see an angel. I mean, if you do, you're so lucky. Oh my gosh, I want to be you.
But, I was about to say, and like a lot of people think like, oh, I want, but. Bro, if we didn't remember every single time angels have showed up, you're terrified.
I mean,
you're falling to the ground. You know what I mean? Like, I can't imagine you're seeing like wheels with a baby spinning it on fire with eyes on it. Like, yeah.
Actually, that does remind me of my grandpa's conversion story. You might want to write that down as a note because one of these days I wanted you to interview me and my dad together, and we can talk about grandpa. Because seriously, my grandpa's conversion story to the church was something that, I mean, honestly, it's for another time, but dude, it's insane, bro. It's so crazy.
There was something else that you were saying that he needed to go through. Your dad. You wanted to ask your dad about.
Yeah, talk to Dad about Robotech Crystal Dreams, the game. Robotech Crystal Dreams, the game.
Robotech
Crystal Dreams. Yep.
I'm gonna butcher this, but this word Crystal Dreams.
You know about Crystal Dreams?
It sounds so familiar, dude. Like, when you just said all of it together, Robotech sounded a little familiar.
Robotech Crystal Dreams.
But when you said it all together like that, it clicked something in my brain, and I don't know what it is. But...
Okay, because our family has a very close tie to it.
Okay, I'm gonna research that when I get back.
I will tell you right now, we have a dev kit.
A what? Oh!
We have a dev kit for Robotech Crystal Dreams. It's a bit of a story, but man, it's a good one.
Yeah, we gotta.
Yeah, you got it. My dad knows a lot more about it than I do.
Okay.
And oh gosh, it's a tale to be told. Another thing, ask Grandpa. Ask about. Let's see here.
I think that was another.
Meeting the King of Greece.
Oh.
Cause that's funny. Also, right in the notes, military exercise morphine. Well, I'll know what that. He'll know what that means. I know what it means. It's really funny. And I mean, let's see here. He knew people related to the Cuban Missile Crisis. There's a. If I think of something, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I was about to say, we'll be listening through again.
That'll be an episode. I might be on here multiple times. Like, there may be multiple episodes.
Hey, man, that sounds great. That sounds like a blast.
I mean, we haven't even gotten into the stuff about, like, my actual, like, full-on religious beliefs, and we also haven't even gotten into, like, the period of time where I basically had a bunch of romantic confusion and learned about, I guess, romance and how love works and just how you can love other people romantically, friendly, all that stuff. Because there's so many things I learned. Oh my gosh.
Oh yeah.
Being rejected 3 times was the best thing that's ever happened to me. It's the weirdest thing to say. I got rejected 3 times, and I'm so glad about it. Anyway, thanks for having me on, Chris. It's been good. It's been fun. Where's the money? You were paying me.
Just jump out the window.
Yeah. All right. You will be seeing more of me. No doubt. I bet. Hopefully, if he doesn't if he's cool with me staying, please let me stay. But yeah, no, it's been I mean, I'm looking forward to having a bunch more interviews, recording, hopefully, and hopefully I don't have to do too much editing because pain. But you know what? Hey, college student. You know what? We all live crazy lives.
If
so.
you guys want to hire Tristan to edit something,
please don't. But I will take the money and I will do it.
He'll do it. He'll do it.
Shoot, just send an inquiry to our business email. Yeah. We made a business email just recently. Yeah. It's everyone'saceleb@gmail.com. So I don't know. I still don't know how we got the name or how we got that email.
YouTube.
No one else has the name. It's crazy.
That's
anyway,
because nobody cares about everybody. I saw a bunch of stuff that was like everybody's this, everybody's that. But I was like,
everyone's stupid.
yeah, it really was like a lot of stuff like that, dude. But nobody was like, everyone's awesome. I was like, oh.
All right, well, we're signing off. So the rest of you have a good day and stay frosty. I don't know. Everyone's a celebrity, so remember, you're a star.
All right.